Hi, my name is Musa and I'm part of the content team at AP Magazine. And today we're going to put together our gimbal and learn how to balance it. So I have with me the DJI RSC2 and I'm going to show you step by step how to balance your gimbal. Let's get into it. So let's take a look at this bag and see what is in it and how we put together our gimbal, the Ronin SC2. So we've got firstly the actual body of the gimbal. You've got the stand bit, that's the stand bit. You've got the plate for the camera, which is that. And you have the camera mount, and that's that. It does come with a few cables. I don't have all of them right here. I do have the one that is important that works with the camera, which is this, and another cable as well. It's got extra bits and bobs in case you need an extra plate or you need support with a wider lens, which I don't have today, so I'm not going to use any of the extra stuff, so I'm going to put this bag away. And this bag is an actual find. I found it on Amazon. If I do find the link, I'll put in the description, but it's just a really cute, neat way of carrying your gimbal around. Now, where do you start when you have all the pieces and you're putting together your gimbal? Now, the first thing you want to do is to unfold your gimbal. So when you get it straight out of the box, it looks something like this. And you want to make sure that the first knob right here is unlocked so that you're able to move. It takes a bit of strength, so don't be afraid to bend it. It won't break. It's meant to be that tough. And you want to make sure it locks in place, and then you turn it to lock so that it's there and you can't pull it out. That way your gimbal is going to be stable. The second bit that I do, which is my second step, is to take this bottom bit and attach it to my gimbal so that it has stability. And that way I can start working on balancing my gimbal. Right, now that I'm here, I am going to unlock and show you all the moving bits of the gimbal. So there are all these tiny little locks on the sides, so you want to make sure you unlock them so that you're able to move your gimbal around. So if you unlock that, unlock this. So I'm just going to show you that again. I've unlocked the bottom one. I'm going to unlock the side one, sliding it up, that way this moves. And then I'm going to unlock the top one so that that moves, right? And once you have put them, you have unlocked them, you can then lock them in place so that you're able to start setting up your gimbal. So if you move this so that your gimbal is facing forward, so I'm just going to move that round and then lock it in place. So that's the bottom one. And then on the side, I'm going to move it and swing it so that it sits this way. And once that's in place, the knob is right at the bottom. Lock it down and it's stable. And then the top one is the one that we're going to start with. So you have that, lock it in place. That's my gimbal setup. This is just straight out the box, just putting together all the pieces and making sure that it's ready for you to balance it and place your camera on it. There is a reason why you have to work on each axis separately. That's because that's how your gimbal finds balance. So you want to work on the top one first, which is that. And then we're going to work on the second one, which you unlock this way, right? And finally, we're going to work on the bottom one, which is that one. So we're going to go through each bit separately. Now on my camera, I'm going to put the mount, which is this camera mount, just screw it onto the bottom. It does have an arrow at the bottom to show you which direction the lens should go. So make sure that that arrow points to where the lens is facing. Make sure it's tight so that it doesn't move, because you don't want your camera moving once you've put it up on your gimbal. Camera ready. Next step is to take this plate and place it on the gimbal so that you can place the camera. So this camera plate sits on this plate like that, and this sits on the gimbal. So we need to place this bit first before we place the camera on the gimbal. So it goes from, you want the narrow side to come into the gimbal and slide it in. There is a button on the side that you do have to press to make sure that it unlocks for the plate to slide in. And again, so on your gimbal, you have all these locks. So whenever you want to move anything, move a plate, you have to make sure you unlock it and then you lock it so that it stays in place. So I'm going to unlock it so that it makes space for the plate to move. So as you can see, it's moving easily. And if I lock it in place, it's sturdy and set. So that's in place. And now I want to place the camera onto the gimbal. So again, I'm going to make sure that this lock is unlocked and then slide my camera onto the gimbal. And once I'm happy with where it is, I'm going to make sure the lock is facing the other way, unlocked, and there, my camera is set and it's steady and it's on the gimbal. So the first thing you're going to make sure that you've done before we even start balancing is that you have everything that you need on your camera to shoot. So if you're planning to use an ND filter, if you're planning to have a microphone set at the top, just have everything on the camera before you start balancing your gimbal, because the weight of everything is what we're balancing on the gimbal. So if you don't have the actual item on the camera before you start balancing, it might throw it off once you put it on. So make sure your camera is set up for your shoot, and then you can start balancing your gimbal. So to begin with, we're going to adjust our tilt and our height. So we're trying to find that balance of the weight of the camera, lens, and any other attachments on the camera. And by doing so, you start with unlocking this first axis at the top that allows you to tilt your camera. And we're going to also be using this adjustment to make sure that our camera is balanced. So if you're not technical like me, you might not know the exact terms, but I'm just showing you the process as to how I actually get my camera to balance. So the first thing I do is make sure I slide my camera in a way that it finds balance. And ideally you want to find that balance where your camera is not sliding too much to the front or to the back, and it's just about stable if you were to leave it. So right now it's a bit balanced. I'm going to move it forward just a little bit, and you have to make sure that you're moving your sliders just a little bit to find that balance. Right there, I'm happy with that, so I'm going to lock it in place. And then I'm going to adjust the height of the camera on the gimbal, and by unscrewing this knob here, I'm able to move this bit. Now you want to find a good height for your camera by, the test is, you want to slide your camera all the way up and then find that place where your camera isn't sliding way too forward or way too back, but just stable enough to be pointing upwards when left alone untouched. We're almost there. As I said, be very gentle. It does take time, but once you've gotten to the habit of doing it, you'll be able to find these moments faster. So once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to screw it on. And just to make sure that the camera is actually stable, if you move it to any direction, it should be able to stay in that position. So if I move it to here, it should be able to stay. Well, did it stay? No. If I move it up, it should be able to stay. So if it doesn't stay, it means I still have to move around my sliders just a bit more, just to make sure I find that balance. So it's still moving a bit up, so I'm just going to come down and move this again. And this is the reality of setting up a gimbal. It takes a few tries to get to the right spot. Leave it. Great. If I leave it there, okay, I'm just going to do this again. Perfect. So if I leave it there, it should stay at that position. Leave it there, it should stay at that position. and that means my camera is balanced on the first axis. Now that the tilt axis is done, we're going to move on to the roll axis, and this has the lock button at the bottom, so I'm just going to unlock that. There we go. And as you can see, my camera is pretty much unbalanced on the roll axis. So you want to get your camera to a position where it's there and you can balance it that way. So to do that, we're going to unscrew this knob and move the gimbal slider this way. So I want to get my camera to balance. Just going to move it a bit. Is it balanced? Almost. Just a tiny bit. As I said, take your time and find that balance slowly. And once you're happy with it, just turn the knob to lock it, and yeah, my camera is balanced. So I'm going to move on to the third axis, which is the pan axis. And to be able to test the pan axis, I need to unlock all the axes. So I'm going to unlock the tilt axis, the roll axis already unlocked, and I'm also going to unlock the pan axis. So a good way to test your pan axis is to just, if you hold your camera right in the center and move it from side to side, can you see that roll? Yeah, we don't need it to be panning all the way like that. So we need to find that balance so that when I move the gimbal side to side, there is stability on the gimbal. So with that, I'm just going to unlock or unscrew this knob and move the camera slider forward. And let's see what that looks like. So I'm just going to move again side to side. So I'll keep doing this until I find that balance where the camera is not leaning all the way around. So I have to keep moving my gimbal slider so that I find that balance. So if I hold my camera right in the middle, move it side to side, move it side to side, it should get to a point where it's not panning all the way around and it's got just a little more stability. Let's see. Yep, I think I'm happy with that. And as soon as I'm happy with that, I'm just going to turn that knob just to make sure that's secure. Check that this is secure. Check that that's secure. And my gimbal is ready. So I'm going to turn it on. I'm just going to turn this around so that you can see. Right, so my gimbal's on now, and if I pan it from side to side, you're able to see it being very stable. If I tilt it forward and back, it's quite stable. It depends what settings you have on your actual gimbal in terms of pan, follow, and tilt, so that will affect the movement. But otherwise, gimbal is set up. Once you've balanced your gimbal manually and you've done everything right and made sure that all the axes are unlocked, you want to calibrate your gimbal, and that is done within the settings. So you want to go into the settings, go to auto tune and press start. So I'm just going to do that, leave it to calibrate. And it's just checking that everything is locked and proper and all the motors are balanced. And that is it. My gimbal is ready to use. And I hope you found this as an easy step-by-step how to assemble your DJI Ronin RS2. And please do comment, like, subscribe. Let us know anything you want to learn how to do for future videos, and we'll be sure to consider them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.